And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shur, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, and let us make bricks, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach into heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad from the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have one language. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build in the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. We all speak one language, World Wide Web. I started out looking for something to take me to one place. I wanted this to take me to Jeremiah 33:19 through 26, but it took me somewhere I did not expect. Hold on to your seat. I hope I am wrong. Rome is Babylon. By the Mediterranean Sea is Galilee, Samaria, Judah. But Rome did not take them over, but did take over Edom and Edom. They are the same. Rome was located by the Mediterranean region, 8th century BC. Rome grew up into the 19th century and is now located where it is today, and abandoned the Mediterranean Empire to its place of rest now, and is now called Roman Catholic Church, Italy, and Rome is 1,417 kilometers. That is 882.347 miles apart. By the Mediterranean Sea is Galilee, Samaria, Judah. But Rome did not take them over, but did take over Edom and Edom. They are the same. The important place which Rome's people occupied in the history of the world is known to some degree, at least, by every student. The little city which sprung up on the banks of the Tiber River in Italy some 7 centuries before the birth of Christ expanded until its dominion covered the entire basin of the Mediterranean and spread northward into Europe and eastward far into the Orient. For centuries it dominated the civilized world. Its contribution and civilization and its influence on the thoughts and lives of men have been surpassed by other governments. It is in Rome world that Jesus lived and did his work. In the fullness of time, when conditions were just right, the Jewish Messiah made his advent. Palestine, the home of the Jews, was a part of Roman Empire. The Jews were subject of Rome, and like all their neighbors, were governed by the Roman officials. They rented this dominion and cliffed under the restraint of frequently rebelled against it, but to no avail. The rebellion against Rome authority finally brought their nation's destruction. When Tyrus burnt Jerusalem and scattered them abroad in 70 AD, they were so completely crushed that they were never able to come together again. Their existence as a nation ended with a fatal struggle. Now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, I was among the captives by the river of Chador, and the heavens were open, and I saw the vision of God. In the 5th day of the month, which was the 15th year of the king of Jerusalem's captivity, the word of the Lord came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Beaz, in the land of Chaldeans by the river Kedar, and the hand of the Lord was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind come out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolded itself, and a brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof was the color of amber out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was the appearance. They had the likeness of man. And every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings, and their feet were straight feet, and the soles of their feet was like the soles of a calf foot, and they sprinkled like the color of a bushy brass, and they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their 4 faces and their wings, and their wings were joined one to another, and they turned not when they went, and they went every one straight forward, as the likeness of their faces. They 4 had the face of a man, and the face of a lion, and on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, and 4 also had the face of an eagle. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 cleaved their body. And they went every one straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creature, their appearance was like the burning coals of a fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creature, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. And the living creature ran, returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Now, as I behold the living creature, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creature, with his 4 faces. The appearance of the wheel and their work was like unto the color of beryl, and they 4 had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as if it was a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And when they went upon their 4 sides, and they turned not whither they went. And as for their wings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them, 4. And when the living creature went, the wheel went with them. And when the living creature were lifted up from the earth, the wheel were lifted up. Whatsoever the Spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheel were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheel. When those went, and when those stood, and when those lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheel. And the likeness of the fragment upon the head of the living creature was of the color of the terrible crystal, stretches forth over their heads above. And under the fragment were their wings straight, and the one towards the other. Every one had 2, which covered on the side, and every one had 2 which covered on the side of their body. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of a great water, as the voice of the Almighty, the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings, and there was a voice from the fragment that was over their head. And when they stood, they had let down their wings. And above the fragment that was over their heads was like the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of sapphire stone. And upon the likeness of the throne was likeness as the appearance of a man above upon it. And I saw as the color of amber, as the appearance of the fire round about within it, from the appearance of the loins even upwards, and from the appearance of the loins even downwards. I saw as it was the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about, as the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud in the day of rain. So was the appearance of the brightness round about. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell down on my face, and I heard a voice of one that spoke. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will rise up Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rises up against me, a destroying wind. And I will send unto Babylon fanners, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bindeth, let the archers bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his bridge granum. And spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, through their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquities, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunk of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm of her pain, if so be she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one to her own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies. The Lord hath brought forth our righteousness. Come, let us declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord hath raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes. For this device is against Babylon, to destroy it, because it is vengeance of the Lord, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make watch strong. Set up watchmen. Prepare the ambush. For the Lord hath both devised and had done that which he spoke against the inhabitants of Babylon. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and thy measure of thy consciences. The Lord of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men, as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up thou against thee. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom. He hath stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightning with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is British by his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the works of error. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts is his name. Thou art my battling axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horses and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariots and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces men and women, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young men and the maids. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husband and the yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces the captain and the rulers. And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitation of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion and your sight, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroys all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and I will roll thee down from the rock, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Lord. Set ye up a standard in the land. Blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations among her. Call together against her and the kingdoms of Ararat, Nei, and Shakasha appointed the captain against her, cause the horses to come up as rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations and the kings of the Medes and the captains thereof and the rulers thereof and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolate without. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holes. Their might hath failed. They became as women. They have burned their dwelling places. Her bars are broken. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, and show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end, and that the passengers are stopped, and the reeds they have burnt with fire, and the men of war are afflicted. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delight. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inheritance of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will plead thy cause, and I will take vengeance for thee, and I will dry up her sea, and make her springs dry. And Babylon shall become heat, a dwelling place for dragons, and an astonishment, and a hissing without inhabitation. They shall roar together like lions, and they shall yell as lions will. In their heat I will make their feast, and I will make them drunken, and that they may rejoice and sleep in a political sleep, and not awake, saith the Lord. I will bring them down like lambs to slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shashika taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The seas is come up upon Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof. Her cities are desolate, and dry land, and the wilderness, and a land thereon no man dwelleth, neither doeth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Baal in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up, and the nations shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the furious anger of the Lord. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Therefore, behold, the day cometh that I will judgment upon the graven image of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. And the heaven, and the earth, and all therein shall sing for Babylon, for the spoilers shall come unto her from the north, saith the Lord. And Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. Yea, that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still, remember the Lord afar off, and let Jerusalem come unto your mind. We are confounded, because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered her face. For strangers are come into the sanctuary of the Lord's house. Wherefore, behold, the day came, said the Lord, that I will do judgment upon her graven images. And though all her land be wounded, shall groan. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, and though she would forcefully the heights of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Lord. A sound of a cry cometh from Babylon, a great destruction from the land of Chaldeans, because the Lord hath spoiled Babylon, and destroyed out of the great voice, when her waves do war like great waters, a noise of the voice. It is because the spoilers is come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are broken. Every one of their bows is broken, for the Lord God of recompense shall surely requite. And I will make a drunkard of her princes, and her wise men, her captains and her rulers, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the King, whose name is the Lord of hosts. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, a board walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burnt with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and at the fort in the fire, and they shall be weary. The word which Jeremiah the prophet commanded Shariah the son of Nerah, the son of Manasseh, when he went with him to Zedekiah the king of Judah into the Babylon in the 4th year of his reign. And this Josiah was a quiet prince. So Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evils that should come upon Babylon, even all these words that are written against Babylon. And Jeremiah said to Shariah, when thou comest to Babylon, and shalt see, and shalt read all these words, then thou shalt say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place, to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever. And it shall be, when thou hast made an end of reading this book, that thou shalt bind a stone to it, and cast it to the midst of the Euphrates. And thou shalt say, Thus shall Babylon sink, and shall not rise from the evil that I will bring upon her, and they shall be worried. Thus far are the words of Jeremiah. And I, behold, when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became as sackcloth and hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she has shaken of a mighty wind. And the heavens departed as scrolls, when it is rolled and together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens of the rocks of the mountains, and said unto the mountains and rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. And the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose name were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. And when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is. And there is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th in of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receiveth powers as king in 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are the people and multitude and nations and tongues, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, who shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigned over the kings of the earth. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is come into the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth were waxed rich through her abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sin, and that ye receive not of her pledges. For her sin has reached into heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewards you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Now, how much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow gave her. For she saith in her heart, I sat as a queen, and I am no widow, and shall be in no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall utterly burn with fire. For strong is the Lord God to judge her. And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication, and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her, and lament her. Then they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of the torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is the torment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold, silver, precious stones, and of pearls, of fine linen, and purple, and silk, scarlet, and all fine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and of iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, wheat, and beasts and sheep and horses and the chariots and slaves and the souls of men. And the fruit that thy soul lust after are departed from thee, and all things which were denied and goodly departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things which are made rich by her shall stand afar off for far of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the companies of the ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by the reason of her conquest. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heavens, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a millstone, like a great millstone, and cast it in the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of the harps, and the musicians, and the pipes, and the tabrets, shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman, and whatsoever craft he be, shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of the millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For the merchants were that great man of the earth, for by their sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of the prophets and of the saints, and all that were slain upon the earth. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on that dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed in the season. And I saw a throne, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, nor had received his mark upon his head or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead did not live until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy is he that has part in the first resurrection. On such the second death has no power, but they shall be present of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And then the 1,000 years were expired. Satan shall be loosened out of his prison, and shall go out and deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth, and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city, and fire came down from God out of heaven, and devoured them. And the devil that deceiveth them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the best and the false prophets are, and shall be tormented day and night forever. And I saw a great white throne, and him that sat on it, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of these things which were written in the book, according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead that were in them, and they were judged every man according to the works. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. European Organization for Nuclear Research, known as Cern, established in 1954. Israel is the first and collectively only non-European country granted full membership. Cern is also used to refer to the laboratory. Cern is also the birthplace of the World Wide Web. 7 elements will run on one calendar. Each of them will study pride collections from a different point of view and with different technologies. Construction required engineering efforts, and a special crane was rented from the Belgium to lower pieces of the detector into its underground cavern. Each piece weighed nearly 2,000 tons. The first of the 5,000 magnets necessary for the construction would lower down a special shaft on March the 7th, 2005. On September the 19th, 2008, to repair it. It resumed operation on November the 20th, 2009. An energy of 3.5 trillion electronic volts. Electronics is what holds the atom together. 2 beams smashing into each other on November the 20th, 2009. Cern will be turned back on early spring in 2015. Earth's magnet field in the magnetic field that extends from the Earth enters to where it meets the solar wind, a system of charges, particles emerging from the sun. Each magnet field changes over time because it is granted by the motion of the motion iron alloys in the outer core. Cern will bring down Satan for a year, and then the asteroid will come to the sea and destroy Roman Empire. Then will the moon, the sun, the stars fall to the earth, and people will hide themselves in the caves of the rock. Jesus will come back for 1,000 years. May God shine His life in yours. Thank you for watching. Jeremiah 51:31. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that this city is taken at one end. 2 beams smashed into each other on November the 20th, 2009. 2015 will be the 6th year when they will turn back on. Look up the 4 blood moons. Please share this with all. Thank you for your time to watch. Please subscribe and comment and pass on. Jesus is needed in all life. Thank you, subscribers. I appreciate your time with the Lord Jesus Christ with me.